Hey book besties, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jazzy. I upload videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So make sure you hit that bell icon so that you get notified every time I upload so I can keep your bookish hearts happy. So let's hop right into today's video. We're going to be talking about all the books I read in September. So without further ado, let's just get going. I'm going to put these books down because they're really heavy. Let's just hop right into it. First, I've got Assistant to the Villain. This is by Hannah Nicole Maurer. I can't say her last name. So sorry, Hannah. But this book follows Evie and the villain. And it's basically what would happen if the town's villain fell for his sunshine assistant. One day, Evie runs into the villain and gets offered a job to work for him. And then chaos ensues. She's just trying to make the best of her life, trying to make a little money. But it's kind of like Despicable Me meets just more of an adult romance novel. I did really enjoy this. I ended up rating it 3.5 stars. It was really good. It was really cute. I wanted more of the chemistry between the characters. I was really in it for the romance, not the plot. And I felt like it was very, very plot heavy. And I wasn't really catching on to their like chemistry and the way that their relationship formed. I don't know. I just felt like the relationship was a little bit lacking for me, but I still had a really good time reading it. Next, I read Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I am in a Harry Potter readathon, and we have been reading one book each month, and this is the 5th book. I'm actually like a month behind, and so this book I was supposed to finish last month and I didn't, but I finished it this month, and that's all that matters. I ended up rating this 4 stars. If you don't know what Harry Potter is about, it's about a kid who his parents die when he's really young, and the person who killed his parents tried to kill him too, but he couldn't. And so basically he gets a letter asking him to go to this magical school called Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. This is the 5th book in the series, so obviously more happens in that, but I don't want to spoil the series for those of y'all that haven't read it. I actually really liked this one. I don't think it tops Prisoner of Azkaban for me. I think that's the only one I've written in the series so far, 5 stars, but this one was still really solid. I love the characters and all that jazz. So I'm excited to finish the rest of the series because this one and the next 2 I've actually never read. Like all the other ones were rereads, but I haven't finished out the series. So I'm super excited to do that. Hopefully I'll get to that in October. Sip break. Anyway. Next, I read the 2nd book in the Knock 'Em Out series, Things We Hide from the Light. This is a small town romance book that follows Nash and Lena. Nash is the chief of police of Knock 'Em Out, and Lena is Nash's brother's friend that like comes into town for work in the 1st book, but then stays around in this book. She ends up having to move in next door to Nash, and a romance ensues from there. I really loved this book. I ended up rating it 5 stars. I loved the representation of mental health in this. I really liked that it was the guy that was struggling with mental health and panic attacks, specifically based on something that happened in the 1st book. No spoilers, but yeah, I just thought it was really beautiful the way that their relationship developed. Just seeing that mental health struggle portrayed through a like male protagonist was really interesting, and I felt like it was really well done. I know this is kind of an unpopular opinion, but I actually think this is my favorite in the series just because of that mental health representation. I just really liked it. I ate it up, and honestly, Lucy Score can do no wrong. At this point, I think she's becoming one of my favorite authors. Then, of course, next I read Things We Left Behind. This was one of my most anticipated releases for September. Ever since that 1st book, I have been eating up the crumbs of Sloane and Lucian. To say I was excited for this book is an absolute understatement. I was so excited, and honestly I was not disappointed. I really liked the past present timelines of being able to see them growing up and what happened between them to make them so hostile towards each other in these books that are years later. It goes through Sloane and Lucian in high school and the whole situation of what goes down between them, and I felt like it was really well done. I kind of expected what happened between them like halfway through the book, but I still wasn't disappointed. I thought how they ended up in a relationship towards the end slash middle was really believable, and I can totally see how that would have happened, but I really love this. Lucian is Suit Daddy and we love him. This is probably my least favorite in the series, but I did rate them all 5 stars. So like I love this series. But the second one is my favorite. The first one can do no wrong. And then this one, it was still good. Obviously a 5-star, but if I had to rank the series, that is what I'm ranking it. Then next I found one of my favorite series, probably of all time at this point. I absolutely loved this series. It was Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After. Once Upon a Broken Heart follows Evangeline and Jax. Evangeline is kind of this almost naive girl who like just wants to get married and fall in love, and she ends up making a deal with the Prince of Hearts, Jax, and that's just not a good idea. And so obviously chaos ensues. I honestly think that this book is better if you go in blind, and so I really don't want to say a lot if you haven't already been spoiled, because I feel like everyone and their brother is reading this series right now. If you haven't been spoiled, keep it that way and just go in blind. It's so worth it. I ended up rating this one 4 stars. There were a couple things that I was just kind of like like it kind of dragged in the middle, so I wasn't like super impressed, but it was still really good. Now, The Ballad of Never After. This book was phenomenal. The ending, the tension, the banter, everything about this book was A1 plus. It was so good, and I can't even, there goes the lighting again. But this book was phenomenal. I absolutely ate it up. I adored it. I honestly just read the first one just to read this one. The way that this ends is on such a cliffhanger that be lucky that the next book comes out next month, because you won't have to wait if you read it now. Just read it. It's so good. 5 out of 5 stars. Then I started the Addicted Calloway series. I read Addicted to You and Ricochet. I really liked this. I fell in love with the characters. Lily and Lo are fantastic characters. I love them. I love that they're flawed. I love that they're struggling and going through things, but still, I don't want to say that I love the way that they depend on each other, because it's totally codependent and enabling, but I loved them together. And there were a couple things, like I felt like the writing was a little bit repetitive, and just like little things like that. There wasn't much of a plot, and I didn't know that going in, that it was such a character driven story. And so I ended up rating this 3.75 stars. I really do love this book, and 3.75 stars is not a bad rating. It just wasn't a perfect book, or like as good as it could have been. So 3.75 stars. If you don't know what this series is about, it's basically about 2 addicts, and they're both struggling with their addictions, and to hide their addictions from their parents, they start fake dating in order to like enable each other's addictions. And that's pretty much it. Just read it. It's so good. The found family in this is gold. And then next, I read Ricochet. I loved this story. I loved being able to see Lily without Lo, and really seeing her growth journey and really struggling. I think this book, she's like really struggling with her yes, she has her own addiction, but she almost has a separate addiction just to Lo. And so really struggling through that, going to therapy. I like how that is talked about and normalized in these books, and I feel like the found family really solidifies itself in this book. It's so good. I loved it. It was so beautiful. It's a really short read too, so yeah, on to the next. And Addicted for now, I am eating up. I'm so happy that it's so good. Next up, we have Foxglove by Adeline Grace. I read Belladonna earlier this year, probably in like May-ish. Maybe it was earlier. It might have been March. I don't know. This is the second in that series. When I read Belladonna, I wasn't a huge fan of it, and I ended up rating it, I think, 3 stars, which it wasn't a bad book. I didn't get any like feelings from it. I picked up this one because I was interested to see where it goes because the ending is kind of wild in Belladonna, and so I was like, well, why not? I ended up rating this one 3.75 stars. It was good, just like nothing special. Then lastly, I read the rest of the Summer I Turned Pretty series. If you don't know what this series is about, it follows Belly, whose family goes to Cousins Beach every single summer with her mom's best friend and her boys. And so basically as she grows up, she's like always known these boys, so she's more of a like sister figure, I guess, and so they always just kind of treat her like a little sister. But then the summer that she turns pretty and the guys start noticing her and noticing that she's changing and she's actually kind of cute is the time when Belly starts to struggle about which brother she wants to be with. It's kind of like a love triangle thing between like Belly and Jeremiah, or Belly and Conrad. If you haven't heard Team Connie or Team Jeremiah, are you living under a rock? Just kidding. But I enjoy this series as kind of a like guilty pleasure. Like obviously these books weren't meant for me. If I read them when I was way younger, I think I would have really enjoyed them just because it's kind of juvenile. The problems are just kind of juvenile, but it's a fun read and it's super easy, super light. The books are pretty short, and I ended up rating It's Not Summer Without You 4 stars, I think, and then We'll Always Have Summer I ended up rating 3.5 stars, I believe. Yeah, they're good. It's a solid series, solid YA, but it's just like not anything special. But I really wanted to read the books before I watched the TV show, so that was my plan, and that is what's happening. So I did start the TV show. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, go ahead and hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe button, and you can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok. It's Jazzy B Reads, and yeah, I'll see you again in the next one.